Welcome to this episode of the Growthcast. My name is Jackson Campbell, and we are joined here again for another episode with Dallas Pruitt, another extended cut episode. Excited to dive into this one as we've been discussing growing pains and how when you're going down the journey and the path of growth, there is growing pains there. So we're going to dive into another aspect of growing pains and some of those growing pains that you can feel as you grow, kind of to follow up off of last week's episode. But for those of you that are just joining us here, we are very excited and happy to have you here. The Growthcast is Monday through Saturday. Amazing episodes. Monday through Thursday, we get Dallas Pruitt for a daily drip, 3 to 5 minute long episode on mindset principles, best way to start your day. On Friday, I get the opportunity to sit down with Tyler Deveraux, record with him about mindset principles, about real estate. Those are also very, very impactful episodes. If you know Tyler, you know that those episodes are incredible as well. And then Saturday, the episode you're listening to right now, the extended cut episode, where we get to jump on and we get to talk about mindset principles. But I get the opportunity to interview Dallas rather than just Dallas putting together his thought. I get to ask him some questions and pull some things out of him. So these episodes are very impactful as well. So we are happy to be here. But Dallas, let's dive in. This month, we want to talk about growing pains. We're going to break down some growing pains and talk about how we can attack those pains as they come in our growth process and what we can do to prepare ourselves for those pains as they come, as we continue to grow. Anything you want to add off of last week's episode?
Dude, I'm just excited to keep the conversation rolling. I think growing pains, I don't know. It's just like, let's bring them all to the forefront, because it's so like fun to talk about all the principles and all the cool things that come with growth and the cool ways that you can make it happen and bring it to the forefront of your life and increase it. But maybe it just feels not as cool to talk about the growing pains, but really it's freaking way cool to talk about the growing pains, in my opinion. I think that's obviously where the growth, that's where the growth comes from, is the suffering. That's like literally like the catalyst for growth. It's like, yeah, you can know how to navigate the path, but if you can't handle the pain, you're not going to grow, right? You can know all the things you need to do, but if you don't know how to handle the pain, right? I mean, literally that's the catalyst for the growth. That's what spurns the growth, is the pain. That's the thing. So, I mean, I love talking about the thing with growth.
And it is a little bit different of approach from what we usually do, right? Usually we're talking about mindset principles and how to apply them in our lives to better our lives and to grow. But I think it's super, I mean, we don't usually talk about pains and like things that may be perceived as negative. But we feel it's so important to talk about these pains. So as we're growing, we know how to address those pains, and we can identify those things as actual growing pains and not sulk on them in other ways that they may be affecting us, right? So let's dive in.
I've really enjoyed this. Honestly, I just want to keep going down this path of bringing more transparency to the painful parts of it, you know? And change perceptive about it, right? Like change our perception about it, because rather than, we just have to seek, almost in a way, we almost have to seek the pain, right? Like we almost have to be purposeful in seeking the painful, experience, because there's so much good that comes from it.
Absolutely. And being able to identify it as a growing pain, right? Not as a downfall or, as a good thing, for sure. Today, what I want to specifically talk to you about today, Dallas, are the pains that come with change, but mostly the two. To get even more specific, I want to talk about self-discipline and self-doubt, right? So in growth, if you're changing, there's disciplines that you're going to have to change, right? There's disciplines and new habits that you're going to have to form, and new disciplines that you're going to have to implement in your life to be able to grow, to get wherever it is that you're trying to grow, right? It's kind of hard to speak on this because I want to speak on it wide enough where it kind of touches everybody, right? If you're going towards a goal,
I think you can do this a certain way, Jackson. Can we try something out here? I actually think that you can do this in a way that does widen or broaden, right? Like, so you can speak to it wide enough by actually like honing in and speaking like very specifically to a point or to an experience, and that's yours. I really think that we have to flip this, narrative that kind of happens on the Growthcast week to week, where you interview me. And I actually think that one of the best ways to widen it and make it relatable is to flip it back on you. We talk about vulnerability and like pain and our experiences, and we're getting better at like bringing that stuff up, because it is painful and scary and all this stuff. But I think that, dude, you're a prime example of like conquering some, or increasing, if you will, self-discipline in your life, and, conquering some self-doubts that have popped up along your journey. So I think we should flip this sucker, and I should be asking you these questions. Right?
Well, I think we should discuss them together for sure. Because you know what I mean? A lot of these things that I would be regurgitating are things that I've learned from you, and things that I've implemented in my life. So I'm more than happy to share my experience, and hopefully that maybe that helps somebody else. Maybe that inspires somebody else to be more disciplined or whatever it is. But yeah, dude, let's do it. Let's do it for sure. Where should we start, bro? Where should we start? I have a question for you before we start, maybe before it gets back over to me. Dallas, discipline. Why is discipline so important to growth?
Discipline is important to growth because without action, you can't change, right? Like every action we take is a vote for the type of person we are working to become. Love the James Clear reference on that part of the growth cycle or the growth process. And the reality is, if we muster up an idea of who it is we want to be, and we say we're going to become that, and we map out the actions and the systems, right? That's like on paper, it works. Like it works. It's not hard. You can see
it's proven.
It's just proven. Like you can see the path. It's mapped out. It makes complete sense, right? But if you don't have discipline in following through with those steps, those actions, the consistency, right, then you will spin your tires. And I would argue not even just spin your tires. It's kind of a weird thing. At least this is how I've interpreted it, is when I say I'm going to do something, there's been lots of changes I've wanted to make in my life that I say I'm going to make, that I get excited about, that I bring out of my mind and bring it out to paper, or bring it out to the world and tell my wife and tell my friends and just bring it out there, right? Like put it out there. I just put it out there. This interesting thing happens where if I'm not disciplined in following through with what I said I was going to do, right? Especially after I've mapped it out and it made sense and I looked at it, this crazy mental health struggle starts to kind of like settle in with me.
Yeah.
Where I get all the different emotions that are, again, and it all aimed towards myself. Right? Like I beat myself up. I berate myself. I talk negatively to myself. And it all is rooted in my lack of discipline to follow through on something that I mapped out that made sense. And I'm just not willing. I'm just not willing to take the action.
See, dude, maybe that's where I want to interject, because I'm not sure I necessarily agree with you on that, Dal. I'm not sure I necessarily agree on the fact that you're not willing to do the plan that you put out for yourself. I just don't buy into that. And then maybe that's where I can share some of my experience there, dude, because there is so many times where you put together a plan and you were so proud of that plan, and I got to put this plan to work. And if I put this plan to work, it's so systematic that I'm going to get my results. Right. If we look at if we use the example of me gaining my health back, getting back healthy, I had a systematic approach. I was going to go to the gym at this time every single day. It was a systematic approach. Right. And it's not that I wasn't willing to do it, because I created this plan. You know what I mean? So off the example of what you're given, I created this plan, and I know that I can do it. Right. But I don't believe it comes from from having a sense of will or being willing to do that plan. It's because your mental, this is what I've learned from it. It's not that you're not willing, it's that your mental mindset is in a different place on a different level than your physical self. So it's like your mental self is somewhere where your physical self isn't quite caught up to yet, right? So pulling from my example,
Really good.
Monday through Friday was my systematic approach. 5 a.m. I was going to be in the gym at 5 a.m., wake up at 4, be in the gym at 5 to 6 every single day, Monday through Friday. No, not every single day, but Monday through Friday. That was my systematic approach to it, right? That was my plan. I knew that I could do that. I know that I can wake up at 4. I know that I can get to the gym at 5. I know that I can do those things, but there was mornings where I completely failed. In those moments is where I really had to like look at myself and really had to like really understand, why did I fail this? Why did I not make it to the gym when I put out this plan? And that's the conclusion that I've come to, is that my mental fortitude was ahead of my physical fortitude, right? So it's like I had these plans and I was determined to make them happen, but my physicality, the discipline that comes with the action, right? That comes in line that is linked to that idea or that plan, isn't always necessarily on the same time frame as that plan. So through the process of making those changes of whatever it is that people are doing, dude, it's like, be super, super patient with your physical self. Your mental self might be way ahead of your physical self, but be patient with your physical self as you learn these new disciplines, as you learn these new habits, and you really shape them to best fit you and best benefit you. Be patient with yourself. I could have very easily out of the gate gotten so upset with myself for missing the gym. I only made it 2 times, but I wanted to make it 5 times. I could be very upset with myself, or I could take a different perspective, take myself out of the situation and look at it and be like, man, why in my brain do I want to be there? But physically, I just can't get myself there. It's not because I'm not willing, but it's because I'm learning these new ways on how to communicate with myself and link my mental with my physical, so that those things can come to fruition. So I don't know if that kind of shares a different light or kind of points a different perspective on it, but it's not that you were not willing. Good. It's that you just are changing, and change doesn't happen overnight. So learn yourself, be learning about yourself through that changing process, and the change will even be that much more impactful, because then you can tweak the changes, right? You can tweak the changes to fit you a little bit better. So it's that's really going to benefit you. So
it's that simple yet profound quote by Carol Dweck, which is, becoming is better than being, and becoming is rooted in learning, right? You just said the magic word again. You just said the magic word. It's like, we were talking last week. I'm like, hey, breaking some stuff down. I was like, man, like, I don't know a lot of things, but I actually know a lot about learning, and I'm very passionate about learning, right? Like, I'm very passionate about helping people become better learners. And you use the magic word right there. And I really think it's key. I just really do think it's key to every, next level of unlocking, parts of growth in your life. Is it's just like, when you are anchored in learning as much as you possibly can about yourself, learning as much as you possibly can about the new discipline, learning as much as you can about your body, learning as much as you can about your mind, learning as much through action, not just like consuming the stuff, but actually doing some stuff. That's the key that like literally just unlocks all the doors. The key is learning, and it unlocks a new layer every single time. And you're on a journey. I think one thing that I recognize as you were breaking that down, and again, self-doubt, maybe to bring that into the picture of the conversation today is, getting over continuously and repeatedly getting over comparing yourself to other people, judging yourself, in the process. And it's just like, you're not learning at that point. You've gotten out of that mentality. Now you're not learning. Now you're doing something else. And that, again, is like a brick wall instead of a key, right? Like, again, it's the learning is the catalyst. And when you're not learning, it trips shit up. It just messes it up. It messes the process up. I wanted to talk about the word discipline for 5 seconds, see if I can make this analogy. Real quick. Go ahead. Yeah. I got an analogy after this. I want to see if it makes sense.
Yeah. So we're talking about growing pains, right? And one of those growing pains being gaining a new discipline or gaining a new habit and having that self-discipline in order to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. A lot of times, well, I bring this up for pain because a lot of times you start kicking yourself. You can't keep this discipline that you've set for yourself, and you get frustrated really fast, right? Like you let yourself down really quickly. Everybody does. It's just so easy to let yourself down, but then it's so easy to get mad at yourself because you let yourself down there as well. So as you're growing and as you do have these hiccups and you do let yourself down, take that as a learning experience. Take that, you know what I mean? You have to truly take that as the failure that it is, but that failure is a learning experience. You have to look at it and be like, okay, well, why didn't I do the thing that I needed to? Why didn't it happen? And just have that real honest conversation with yourself on why it didn't happen. Is it because I'm trying to gain these new habits and I'm just growing and I'm starting to do it? Or is there something else there? You really just have to have that conversation with yourself. And by doing that, you remove the pain that comes with gaining a new discipline. You don't remove it, but you use that pain to your benefit, rather. You don't remove the pain because the pain's still going to be there. You're still going to disappoint yourself, but you're actually using that disappointment and that pain in the growth process as a benefit, as data, as something that's going to help you along the way rather than try to knock you off course. It's almost like it's a superpower. It's almost like it's like a level up. If you're able to do that, you level yourself up and set yourself apart in that growth process for sure.
For sure. And the pain is an indicator that you care about whatever it is you're trying to do. Like that's part of it too, is, so many people want to run away from that because it hurts so bad. Like, and I've had my own personal experiences on that, but it's just like, that is actually the indicator that you care. And if you care about something, then you have to go back into that spot. You have to go ask those questions. You have to go dissect and analyze and really dig deep, because there's something there. There's something really important there for you. Like it means a lot to you. And so you should go discover what it is, and you should go feel, and you should go experience learning at that level about yourself, about your life, about your gifts, about your talents, about your work, about your family, whatever it is. And there has to be like you said, I can't remember how you put it, but like, there has to be this relationship that you have with that, because it really is one of the most important relationships that you'll have in your life, is this relationship with like discovering where that pain's coming from, discovering yourself, and then really, extracting the lessons that you're taught, that you find out from it. And then again, it unlocks a new layer. Like you said, you're like, oh my gosh, like now that's the becoming part, that's the change part. That's where the change kind of gets unleashed. And it's so, I think possible. A lot of times it's so possible, but it's painful. And it doesn't seem super fun sometimes. No. But the more you do it, the more discipline you get it going that direction. It oddly enough is kind of like, I don't want to say enjoyable.
No, it is
gratifying.
It is. No,
word. I don't know.
It can be enjoyable for sure. It has become that way for me, at least. It is enjoyable to like figure out those things and learn those new things and then experiment and try new things. Right. Yeah. I think a lot of times, D, when I fail at my disciplines, my very first reaction is, well, damn it. If I just would have done that discipline, if I just would have done it, if I just would have went to the gym, then I wouldn't be feeling the way that I am right now. But the matter of fact is I didn't go to the gym. I didn't make it. So
but let's talk about why. When you're talking about it, you're actually talking about it as you're going to do it. You're there. You're like there beating yourself up because you're doing it. Like
exactly. I don't know, exactly. You have to ask yourself those questions, not be mad that you didn't do the discipline, but really figure out why you didn't do the discipline, why you didn't do the thing that you were supposed to do to help you get to where you're going to go. If you can come at it with that perspective and that approach, rather than my plan was so right. My plan that I wrote out on paper was so good and I didn't achieve it and I didn't conquer it. So now I'm not going to get my results that I'm looking for. That's not going to lead to any growth. That's only going to lead to a downhill spiral, right? So it's like, you have to really take yourself out of that situation, realize why, the changes you need to make sure you go back on that upward growth.
Good. So that's good. Really good.
Yeah.
That's
really
good.
We talk about, I know we're kind of coming up on time here today, but I wanted to touch on self-doubt and how it is so closely correlated with self-discipline. So I don't know if you have thoughts or something you want to share regarding that.
Well, I think that we touched on it briefly just a second ago. And that is comparison to other people. And just fear of looking stupid in front of the world, in front of our peers, in front of our family members, fear of looking different, not even stupid, but just like fear of looking different, choosing a different path. People calling us crazy, whatever. Like, I think those two things are the big ones with self-doubt for me, where it just tends to pop up a lot, is like, if I get out of focus on what we just broke down, like basically that whole framework that we just broke down of learning when in your journey, in the things that about yourself, the things you can control in chipping away and just learning more and growing more. When I get out of focus of that, and I start listening to the narratives of other people telling me what I should be doing, where I should be going, how good I need to be doing it, how many times, this, that, the other, and also looking at their accolades, their achievements, right? The story that's told on a reel. And I told my wife this. I'll use this as an example. I told my wife, I said, did you know? I went upstairs at lunch. I'm like, did you know that less than 1%, somewhere roughly right there, of the world has ran a marathon? And she was like, wow, well, Instagram would say otherwise or something like that. And I was like,
Sure.
It would, wouldn't it? Everybody's out there doing cool shit, traveling the world, growing their own business, having mad success, like all this stuff. It's so easy to self-doubt when that's what you're focused on.
Right.
You're not focused on reality. You're focused on an algorithm. You're focused on AI. You're focused on robots. You're focused on fake shit that feels real, but it's not. And it has everybody else's face on it. And they're telling you all these awesome stories about their lives and everybody else's lives and how they're all awesome, right? And so, self-doubt creeps in super fast when I get out of focus on what I can control, my experience, my learning, what I'm doing with it, how I can get better, right? Like, and that may be, anyways, not even maybe. That's just reality. That's just reality for me in my life experience.
It's a simple thing because I think there's so many people that do it. I remember when Instagram and like social media really hit the mainstream and it was really, really popular. The big thing that was going around was, don't believe what you see on Instagram. Don't believe what you see on, everybody's just painting this beautiful picture of their life that they're having, right? I remember hearing that a lot, right? They're only posting the good stuff. They're only, you know what I mean? I remember hearing that a ton. Yet more and more, like the farther that we've moved into this social media type of a world, we do continue to compare ourselves, and that narrative of, everybody's just showing the good stuff on social media, that's kind of went away. And now everybody's kind of really just accepting the social media as reality. That's a whole nother thing we can talk about on another thing. But why I wanted to bring that up is because we truly have to base our happiness on working on ourselves, right? The Maui meeting this month with Tyler, he talked about happiness. And the ultimate thing that you can do to have true happiness is to work on yourself. So it comes back to those self-disciplines and learning about yourself. So if you have self-doubt, take yourself out of the situation and ask yourself, why am I doubting myself in this? Why am I doubting myself? Why is it that I feel like that I can't do what it is that I need to do? Right? I think it was Alex Hormozy said, if you want to crush self-doubt, it's not by shouting affirmations in the mirror. It's by having an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are.
Yep.
Right. So it's about taking action, failing, learning about yourself, and changing. That's what life is. That's what growth is. That's what self-discipline is.
Stay on that.
Go ahead.
For a minute. Just keep staying on that. Like, let's keep our conversation right there. I really think it's important to keep the conversation right there. especially with our audience, is just, yeah. Say it
taking
again.
action. No, by taking action is how you demolish self-doubt. And by taking action and failing at that action is how you overcome and master self-discipline, right? It's by taking yourself out of the situation, but doing those efforts and doing those actions with everything that you've got, 100%, right? Getting in there, throwing yourself into a situation, a new discipline, a new habit that you're trying to form, and fail at it, but then hit the drawing board again and figure out what it is that you need to change to do the things that you're trying to accomplish, right? It's a beautiful thing, dude. It really is. You can't look at life as, I don't know, you can't base your confidence or your self-doubt off of your accolades. You have to base your self-confidence off of your effort, off of your true effort. And that's something only that you know, is that true effort that you're putting in, right? So it comes back like, that's why I feel like self-discipline and self-doubt are so intertwined, because if you can have that self-discipline and love yourself through that process of gaining new disciplines and creating new disciplines in your life, the confidence will come with that, and your self-doubt will completely dissipate. If you can really truly look at your failures, look at the things that are kind of knocking you off course and giving you that self-doubt, and attack them and create like Alex Armosi says, a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And that's how you know what I mean? Then
every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become, right?
Exactly.
It's absolutely right. And man, you said that very beautifully. It's very true. And, the do part is just, it's, we so many times on the path of trying to bring our lives, the creation of what we want our life to look like, where we want to be, what we want to do, what the work is, what the business looks like, what the result is. We want to think our way through it. We talk, we plan, we strategize, we think, and we just can't think our way through life. You can't think your way through change. You can't psych yourself out, right? Like you can to act, but like you have to follow action with action with action with action with action. And, you have to behave your way through it. You literally just have to behave your way through it. And that is weirdly enough, it's a lot easier when you get in a mode of behaving to behave your way through something, meaning it's simple. It's not easy. It's just kind of like everything with growth, right? Like growth is not like on paper, growth is easy. Or sorry, on paper, growth is simple, but it's not easy when you go to take all the right actions on it. And that's the interesting thing at this stage of the game that I feel like I continue to learn, speaking of learning, more and more and more regarding the mindset side of things. And that is, thinking. There is a certain point where thinking just has to stop. You just stop. You've done it all. You've thought it all through. You've done all the thinking you needed to, and then some, probably. And the reality is you have self-doubt because you haven't taken the action. You haven't taken the actions yet. You haven't taken the first ones and the second ones and the simple ones and the easier ones. And so at that point, right, just start there. And again, like turn the trigger off of comparison, turn the trigger off of all the white noise, hermit a little bit, hermit into action, like literally just hermit back into doing, and just like really live there, like live with yourself in the doing part of whatever it is you've drafted up, and pay attention to how your confidence increases. Pay attention to how doubt starts to creep away. And then don't go back into like, okay, now I'm good, so I'm going to go back to thinking now because I've gained a little bit of progress and this and that. Like, no, just keep living and doing. And there is a time to think and there is a time to think for sure. But the more and more I do this, meaning grow in my life, the more and more I learn, the more and more I draft up a goal and I want to achieve it and move it forward, the more and more I realize that, thinking is a dime a dozen. Thinking, everybody thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody does, right? And that's the difference maker between people who grow at an awesome capacity in their life and do some really great things, and are extremely fulfilled and extremely happy and extremely successful, is they're the doers. They just do. They stop thinking and they do. And that's a journey.
And they learn.
That's a journey. And I think that's
Yep.
the most important thing that I could probably close out on my piece today, Jax, with everything that you said just beautifully, is, dude, it's a journey for everybody. It's yours. It is your journey, right? Own it, own yours. Own the uniqueness of your journey and the situations you've experienced, the circumstances from which you come, and just lean into all those things, utilize them, and let it morph through your doing. Let it morph the way it needs to morph for your mission and your life and your work, and know that, like, there's a reason, there's a why and a purpose behind you and how you're uniquely positioned in your journey, right? And just bring all that to the forefront, and don't live somebody else's life. Don't do it somebody else's way. Don't try to be like them. Don't try to do everything the exact way they did it all, right? Take blueprints, use them. Take tools, use them. Take resources, take advice, get coached, whatever, but own the shit out of your life, because it's a gift, dude. Like, your uniqueness is a gift, and you have to utilize all those pieces and components of it, because when you start to tap into all of those pieces, right, like, that's when learning becomes a lot funner and more impactful too, because you're uniquely designed to help specific people. Yep. You are uniquely designed that way. So,
yep. Dallas, thank you so much for this episode, brother. So impactful. And I think it was so good. A couple of actionables just as we end on this is, as you set your new disciplines, keep track of those things and collect that data, and be kind to yourself. As you fail on these new things that you're trying to do, take that as the learning lesson that it is about yourself. Learn about yourself, grow, and inevitably, if you do those things, whatever it is that you're trying to work towards will come to fruition if it's supposed to be. I know I couldn't be more confident in that. So, Dallas, again, thank you so much for this episode. Thanks for letting me kind of share my experiences and some of the things that I've learned regarding this topic. So appreciate you, man. Appreciate all of the listeners. Thank you so much for listening. Please tune back in on Monday, or whenever it is that you're listening to it. Please tune back in. We appreciate you. We love you. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, y'all.